Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Today's daf is Kesubos Samach Gimel 63. I want to address fundamental difference between two words that really people, use interchangeably, but they really mean different things. We know the Mishnah on Samich Aleph and Beis talked about the Chiyav of Onah, which is a Chiyav Midoraisa that a man has to his wife. He has to Ama Ivriya, right? You have Sheir Ksus of Onasa, which is Mina Torah Onasa. Now, Ona means to cause her pain, but it also, we know it means Tashmish, it means to be together with her. And then we have the Mishnah on Samach Aleph and Beis says something else. It calls, he takes a neder. Amada is Ishtam Tashmish Hamita. He says he's not going to be with her. He's not going to engage in Tashmish Hamita. Now we're familiar with Tashmish Hamita, most notably from Hilchos Yom Kippur, Hilchos Tisha B'Av, one of the five Inuyim. Holy Inuyim, you're not allowed to be Tashmish Hamita. Is there a difference in Onah and Tashmish Hamita? Yes, of course there's a difference. What do you think? I was going to just tell you the same thing? No, even though all the English translations will tell you they mean the exact same thing, I am going to tell you no. Tashmish Hamita comes from the word mishmush yadayim, part of sex. Onah is the bare minimum of sex, where the husband has an obligation to engage in intercourse with his wife. Intercourse meaning there's no foreplay, there's no orgasm for the woman. He just starts it off, penetrates until he ejaculates, and that's it. And that's Onah. You can do it both from the front and anally, because Bia Shlokadarka is considered Bia. And that's all he has to do, the bare minimum, because even a wife, even if it's painful for a wife, and really women hate it when a man would do that to them, if they don't have any foreplay. They feel used, they feel cheap, but it's something. It's better than nothing. It's tiflus, like the Gemara says, at least to be together, to feel the flesh against flesh, a husband and wife. She enjoys that a little bit. That's the bare minimum. It's like I said, Midoraisa, Sheir Ksusav Onasa, to give her bread and water, what she basically needs, so she shouldn't starve to death. That's what Midoraisa, Midorabon, they're masakin, has to give her mizonos. They have to give her mizonos and parnasa. That's Midorabonon, in place of her maisi adayim, they're masakin mizonos, and she gets fed. And I explained that's Midorabonon, and that is to take care of her normal needs, what she's accustomed to, and make her feel really good. It says in the Ksuva, mizonaichi, v'sipukaichi, all included in the cut of mizonos, take care of her needs, whatever she needs to feel like a normal person. Even if she or he has a luxurious family, a rich family, he has to treat her really nicely. Olim of any redesi, he has to treat her really nicely. And that's part of Takanim Darabanan of mizonos, which is not just food, which is anything she needs. And included in that is Tashmish Hamita, one of the sipuk haichi, that she should have a sipuk, she should have enjoyment in life. That's included in mizonos. That's what's written in the Ksuba. And that's Midarabana. And she's entitled to Tashmish Hamita. Tashmish Hamita means Tashmish Hamita, where you're doing mishmash on the bed. Where if you do it on the ground or something like that, it's not so enjoyable. It has to be done in a soft way, in an enjoyable way, in a sensual way. And that is foreplay. And I would venture to say even sipukaichi, any woman who does not get an orgasm every time they're together, really you owe a wife every time we're together to give her an orgasm also. That's not sipukaichi. Women are bitter if they don't get an orgasm. That's the honest truth. If their husband, there's a lot of husbands out there. I'd love to do a study about this and figure out in the general population in the world, non-Jewish, Jewish, and then among the Jewish world and among different sectors in the Jewish world, I'd like to figure out, I would love to know what percentage give orgasms to their wife on a regular basis. I would venture to say about 50% don't. And you see in a woman, they're bitter if they don't get that, and women can't speak up for themselves usually, and they can't demand it from their husbands. They can't, like the Gemara says, they're not tovea their husbands. So it's something they all want, but a lot of them don't get. It's unfortunate, and I consider domestic abuse if you don't do that to a woman. You're definitely not fulfilling your ksuba if you're not doing that. So don't tell me if you're not fulfilling your ksuba. You could be a big rabbi. You don't do an orgasm for your wife. You are mavatal, shtar ksuba. You are someone who's a balcho. You're someone who is indebted to your wife, and you're not paying off your loan, and you owe money. It's gazela. It's basically it's gazela. You're stealing from your wife. When you come back in a gilgul for even if you steal a shava pruta. So basically, that's what Tashmish Hamita is. That's included in mizonos, which is a chiyuv midarabana. And we learned today that the husband is not in control. He can't say, and he's on a mafarnes, he can't say, I'm not going to provide mizonos. She could say, I don't need it, right? And I'll take my Maaseh Yaday. I'm not giving you my earnings, and I'll, take care of myself. But ultimately, the husband has to do that. I think Gemara says Rav says a Yotzi v'tein ksuva, and if he doesn't do it right away, so he has to add money to her ksuva, like the Mishnah says here on Samach Gimel. Now, based on this, what I'm saying over here is I have to explain a line in the Gemara. The Gemara says on Samach Gimel Mabeis, the Gemara says a brisa that says he or she is considered a moredes, even if she's a nida. Now, the Gemara says if she's a nida, right, and she rebels, and everyone agrees rebellion includes Tashmish Hamita. She says, I don't want to engage in sexual relations with him, which includes foreplay and the sex. So she gets deducted from her ksuba. So even if she's a nida, the Gemara says she's a nida, she's asr to be with her husband. She's not responsible to be with her husband. She's a moredes as a nida. So the Gemara says, So the simple explanation of the Gemara is, obviously everyone would think, is that if she's not moredes, she hasn't rebelled against him, they don't have a feisty relationship, they don't have a terrible relationship, they're not in a fight, so he could expect after she goes to the mikveh, he'll get something. He has pas pasalo, he has bread in his basket, he doesn't need to eat it now, he'll eat it when he gets hungry after she goes to the mikveh. If she's moredes, there's no end in sight, right? Women can be vindictive against their husbands. They know that it's the one thing they have against their husbands, that if they don't like something their husband is doing to them, they could withhold sex from him. So, and they know it's very powerful. A man needs it. A woman also needs it. She would hold it sometimes. People get vindictive against other people. So, with anal apospasalo, if she's rebelling against him, he doesn't have an end in sight. He doesn't have bread in his basket. So, therefore, she has to get deducted from her ksuba, because there's no other way of dealing with it. You have to put financial sanctions on her. Now, I'd like to suggest a different way of answering this, explaining this Gemara. Based on the distinction I made between Onah and Tashmish. The reason, it's a weird expression, pas basalo, bread in your basket. I mean, people subsist just on bread. I mean, nowadays, if you subsist just on bread, you get sick of it. I mean, bread and water is basic nutrition for people that are starving. But, people eat fancier food. So I'd say, Mishesh pas basalo is talking about someone who only has bread in his basket, meaning Onah. Because part of Onah, he's allowed to force it on her. He's allowed to rape his wife, technically, right? According to the Torah, you're allowed to rape your wife. You have control over your wife. You can't rape someone who's not your wife. You can rape her. And you have Onah. You always have that over her. Even if she's moredes, right? You're strong. Most men are stronger than their wives. He has Onah. But anytime you have raped someone, there's going to be no foreplay. It's not going to be sensual. It's going to be graphic. It's going to be, probably disgusting. It's going to be basic. It's pas. It's like surviving your whole life on just bread and water. I mean, it's not so enjoyable. So that's what does he have in his basket? He has something else in his basket. He has steak, he has nice food, he has baby chicken, he has lamb chops. He's got great stuff. So ein lo pas basalo means he's got a great menu over there. It's not ein lo pas basalo, he has nothing. No, that's the Gemara's distinction here between Onah, which he always maintains when she's a nida, right? Pas basalo, which ein lo pas basalo, when she's a moredes. Right, so he has pas basalo. If she's not a moredes, right, she's a nida, so then he can look forward to after she's a nida, goes to the mikvah, he'll have a normal relationship with his wife, and he'll have tasha amita, he'll have the sensual relationship that the man covets also, even though the woman covets it more, the man covets also a sensual relationship with consent of the woman. And based on that, I'd like to explain, the Gemara uses the same exact phrase on Samach Beis Amud Beis, where the Gemara says, but Amadir Ishto, based on the Mishnah on Samach Aleph and Beis, the Gemara talks about someone who takes a neder. I'm not going to have Tashmish again, using the word Tashmish Hamita. I'm not going to have Tashmish Hamita. Beis Shammai says 2 weeks. Beis Hillel says 1 week. Right? If you're Madir Ishto for 1 week, you have to give a ksuba. Because you take a neder, that's why it's worse than mored. Mored, she's just rebelling. She could recant any time. Take a neder, you have to actually be matir the neder. It's hard to be matir a neder sometimes. Take a neder for 7 days already, so then you have to leave the marriage and give her a ksuba. Madir azishto mitashish hamita. So the Gemara says, based on our Mishnah, and then the Mishnah lists all the different types of Onah, when a man has a chi of Onah, how often is a chi of Onah. So the Gemara asks on the bottom of Samach Beis Amud Aleph, Amar le Rabba Baruch Hanan Abai Ichbal Tana Shmina Tayo Lepol. There's only 2 cases where the obligation of Onah is more than once a week, right? By a tile every day and a pole twice a week. So similarly, the Gemara assumes Onah and Tashmish are the same thing. So everybody else, right, there would be no halacha of Madir Azisham and Tashmish wouldn't apply to them, because if your Onah is just once a week, so I can take a nether, I'm not going to be with you for 7 days. Okay, but I don't have an obligation of Onah. Amar le lo akuluhu. The Gemara answers, it's going on all. Hashish chadashim kamar, the top b'samach bezim on base. The Gemara answers, it says 6 months. 6 months is a lot more than 1 week. Whereas the Enadom Mishesh Lepas Basal, Misha Ein Lepas Basal. So the obvious explanation, the assumed explanation that everyone understands this, is that right, even though they technically a sailor only is responsible with his wife once every 6 months, if he takes a ned there, so he thinks it's going to be forever. Even though he said it's only for 7 days, that's the problem. He only said it for 7 days. After 7 days, it's over, right? It's over, really. So it doesn't really make sense. The seeming explanation is, right, Sheishal Paspasalo, right? Technically, the idea is she can go back to him any time. He can go back to her any time. Even though he's a sailor, they could do it more often than 6 months. If he takes a nether, though, so then it's something that those 7 days, she's stuck. That's seeming the explanation. But there's a problem, because 7 days, he doesn't have to be with her anyway, and after 7 days, he'll be over. So I'd like to offer a different explanation in the Gemara. And the Gemara is making a distinction, like I said before, between Onah and Tashmish Hamita. Like the Mishnah Amadir Isham and Tashmish Hamita, right? A sailor, right, every 6 months, he has the obligation of Onah. So that's Paspasal, it's bread. Onah is the basic obligation of conjugal relations where there's no Tashmish Hamita, no foreplay, there's no orgasm. It's painful for the woman sometimes, right? So that's what Gemara is saying. You can't compare Onah, which is Paspasalo, to Tashmish Hamita, right? Because Tashmish Hamita is included in Mizonos, and the man has an obligation. Even a sailor, even though he goes away for a long time, he has an obligation somehow to fulfill Mizonaichi v'sipukaichi. He has an obligation to fulfill Tashmish Hamita. You might think the Gemara is saying, oh, Onah, a sailor only has 6 months. He can go away for a long time. It's not so simple like that. It's not so simple. Onah is just telling me the rights of a man. Onah is the right to him to go and have sex with his wife against her will. Right? Most men enjoy it. They don't like the foreplay sometimes. They just like to go in, penetrate, ejaculate, and go to sleep. That's what men like to do. So that's an entitlement that he has based on his strength. Yes, it's also for the woman, but it's mostly for the man. But Tashmish Hamita, which is B'darabanan, included in Mizonos, Mizunaichi, V'sipukaichi, he has to do for a lot longer. So Ein Lo Pas B'salo means steak. He doesn't have bread, you have steak, you have what she likes to eat. Maybe she likes to eat chicken, I don't know, schnitzel, whatever she likes to eat. So that, She'ein Lo Pas B'salo, when you take the nether from Tashmish Hamita, you take away her foreplay, you take away her orgasm. So that's what Gemara is saying. She is considered Ein Lo Pas B'salo. She has no bread in her basket. She has, right, steak in her basket. And when you take that away from her, you take the Tashmish Hamita. That's what she really wants. She really covets that more than the actual penetration and ejaculation. She wants the orgasm. She wants the foreplay. You're not giving that to her. In Tashmish Hamita, you're not giving that to her. So that's She'ein Lo Pas B'salo. It's steak she has in her bread. And you take that steak away from her, that's more meaningful to her than the Onah, which she doesn't enjoy that much. That's the conclusion of today's shir. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really important distinction. Everyone thinks Onah is for the woman. Onah is for the man, really. Hashamita is for the woman. That's what they care about. It's a little long today's shir, but it's probably the most fundamental shir to explain these things, which people don't really talk about at all. So I'm happy you heard this shir and you heard concepts that everyone thinks about but is afraid to talk about. See you in the next one.